Well, I'm speaking as a regional leader for the TDA in Yorkshire and Humber, but also as an ex-head teacher for many years. And personalisation came onto the agenda for schools round about 2003-04, largely through the work of the National College at that time, which was looking at what a personalised curriculum pathway might be for young children and young people going through our system. But then broadening that into what a personalised culture what the hallmarks of that would be and how that would be experienced by those who worked within it. It was based largely upon the work of Charles Ledbetter, and it looked at the emotional climate of learning in an organisation. So how you receive that as an individual, how you contribute to it, how you take part in it, and how you take forward from that what you need for your life and for the skills and potential that you have. In practice, that meant that you had to look at both the strategic planning of the school afresh, but you also had to look at how the curriculum was planned and how individual lessons and interactions with learners were planned, because a personalised process had to guarantee a level of differentiation, high quality relationship building, high subject knowledge and a flexible approach, and varied means to achieving key outcomes. So it was definitely not one size fits all. Schools were already differentiating, but personalisation was actually asking schools, and personalised learning, if you like, was asking schools, teachers and those who support learning in schools to think differently about their role in the classroom setting or in the wider setting of the school.
What kind of key bits of thinking were different? Were there any particular approaches within that thinking that within the classroom, getting down to sort of really practical, or what were people doing?
Well, once you had absorbed, you had to do some philosophical thinking about personalisation. You had to look at, the basic premise of what that meant, and actually that was described really well at that time by the national strategies, despite their emphasis on core subjects, the maths, English and the STEM subjects at high school. There was some really good work, some really good basic explanations around what personalisation of learning looked like, felt like, and would how it would happen in practice. So key things that were really important: one, the right data, using the data to help you to define what the needs of the learners were in a really precise way, and to set targets for those learners within the framework for assessment for learning. Certainly as a head teacher, for me, assessment for learning and personalisation of learning went absolutely hand in hand. Now speaking as a regional programme leader and looking at children's services and the team around the child, for me the personalised approach to how we support children in their learning at school is that all the different adults who are engaged with that young person or that group of young people at any key point in time are clearly aware of how they contribute towards the success of that young learner in school, whether that's to do with physical health, whether it's to do with emotional well-being, whether it's to do with academic learning, whether it's to do with achieving key targets around behaviour, social emotional aspects of their well-being, whatever that is. And then around that again goes, if you like, the safety net that we call safeguarding. So if you get personalisation right, and at high school level that would include models of pupil-student mentoring, personal tutoring for instance, then safeguarding almost by default falls into place.
Thank you, that's really helpful. We've talked about education. Do you have any, this is something that do you have any thoughts about what it means more widely in public services, personalisation? This is a classic example of how we've focused very much on outcomes for children. What about the rest of the public services? Do you have
Well, it's interesting because once you start looking at personalised provision for those on the receiving end of the service, inevitably you look at the personalised elements that affect those who are delivering those services. So, the need for that particular workforce, whether it's schools-based, health-based, social services-based, to have really robust systems of personal review, feedback loops, continuous professional development, quality assurance, aware of the potential impact that they're making. All of those become the building blocks of what a personalised service of provision needs and must have in order to work well. Where any of those are weak, the personalised element of the service is affected negatively. Where those elements are strong, particularly the personal professional review, team working, strong leadership, succession models in place, good CPD for the individual and the team that's aligned to key objectives, and relevant objectives, then personalisation almost flows with that process.
Thanks, that's really helpful.